Hi, welcome. You may already know there is a proposal with Matherell Council that a biogas plant be built near Camposol. It will be just over 1 kilometre from houses on Camposol A. If you didn't know about this, you may find this video informative. There are a great many objections to the building of the proposed installation. This video presents us with a detailed explanation of what to expect should the proposed plant be completed and put into operation.
As a subject matter expert, having spent the best part of 30 years in the wastewater and oil and gas industries, where I designed and installed biodigesters along with many other engineering projects on the water treatment plants back in the UK. Firstly, I would like to say I like biodigester installations. I like the engineering, I like the process and the principles. They are a great way of disposing of agricultural and some domestic waste in a responsible and clean manner and capturing the finished products as methane gas and enriched fertilizers. Saying that, I do have serious concerns as to where Lambert Bioenergy has chosen to locate this installation, and that's what I will present this morning. The proposed location to construct and operate this biogas installation is far from suitable. For instance, the site is located within land deemed within the boundaries of agricultural only operations and not to be used for heavy industrial nor commercial use. This would violate local planning and sustainability regulations, and agricultural or green belt land should not be used to develop in this manner. Once one industrial complex, i.e. the biogas plant, is constructed and implemented, this sets a precedent and opens up possibilities of promoting further industrial and commercial activities in the same vicinity. From the plans and documentation seen to date, there has been no thought nor consideration to shielding or screening of the site from all aspects of the surrounding countryside. And as this installation sits atop of a hill, the plant will be dominantly visible for miles around from all directions. A new location must be sought as the plant lies just 1.15 kilometres from the closest urbanisation of Camposol Sector A. As we can see on the slides, the first slide at the top left, we can see the proposed location and you can see its elevation relative to the motorway, the RM3. Here's a video taken from the top of the hill of 360 degrees. We've just seen Camposol Sector A. And this is the size of the plant, of the field that this plant's going to be built on. As you can see for miles, this plant will be visible from the other side of the valley. As the video turns around, we can see Sector C in the distance, and that is back to Sector A. Operational disturbance, light, sound, smell and odours. Excessive light. If construction is achieved, other disruption will be created once production commences. Excessive light pollution and excessive noise disturbance. The plant will run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Every night, large floodlight masts producing very bright light pollution to the night skies. These lights, like football ground spotlights, will be seen for miles. Excessive sound will be generated from lorries, front loaders, reversing beacons, and general operational noise from generators, mixers, etc. Although noise calculations and metered tests have been completed in the design specifications, this is just an estimate of the total daily operational noise that will be generated, and not the actual volume. In reality, the total amount of extra noise that will be undoubtedly travel on the wind will be a significant disturbance for all the residential areas that lie within that wind direction. We all agree that the sound travels across the plains of Spain. Smell and odours. To date, I have not received any drawings and documentations that show or describe the building's internal air replenishment, scrubbing and odour control ducting to be installed to eliminate foul odours and hazardous gases. If these odour control systems are installed and the plant operated correctly to specification, then there should be very minimal to no smell to consider, unless by way of accident or general power failure. The image on screen shows some examples of odour control systems installed by a very reputable company that's been doing this for a very long time, and once these systems are installed, it removes all odours and gases. They get scrubbed, cleaned and release almost fresh air. Increase in resource usage, the potable water and electricity. If this plant is approved, constructed and implemented, the daily operations will devour copious amounts of potable water to add to the feedstocks in the digester tanks. Also for other activities on site like spillage clean down and safety showers, firefighting activities, etc. Potable water. There is a grave concern as to the total amount of potable water this plant will consume. This feed is coming directly from the main fresh water supply that feeds some urbanisations and local villages. Camposol suffers from an existing low water pressure issue. Adding extra industrial resources taking fresh treated drinking water upstream of the urbanisation is only going to aggravate this issue. Electricity. Although this plant has many on-site solar panels to help towards its operational electricity consumption, it will also use some of its self-produced biomethane gas to help heat the digester tanks. But this plant will still require electricity feed from the local substation. A 20 kV electrical spur and new power line is indicated on the supplied documentation. Should another local or national electricity blackout occur, how is this plant going to continue to operate safely? Will there be backup generators on site to supply energy power in a blackout or grid failure? And will these generators be silent running as to not add to the already increasing decibels in the vicinity? As we can see in the image on screen, we have a small local substation. The image below shows the new power line spur feeding the proposed plant. Environmental impact, pollution and increased traffic. This is an extract from the EU's Energy Climate Change Environment Climate Action to Reduce CO2 Levels. And as you can read, one lorry emits around 1.26 kilograms of CO2 per kilometre. So 70 lorries, which is estimated by Lamberts to be arriving and leaving site per day, could produce roughly 88.2 kilograms of CO2 per kilometre travelled. The estimated travel distance, 12 kilometres from RM3 junction 25 of the AP7 to the RM3 junction 13 for the site. It's also 12 kilometres from the RM2 junction 4 to the RM3 junction 13, the site. HGVs are responsible for more than a quarter of greenhouse gases emissions from road transport in the EU and over 6% of total EU CHG emissions. The first ever EU-wide CO2 emission standards for HGVs were established and regulated under this EU Regulation 2019-1242, which sets a 15% reduction target by 2025. Adopted in 2019, these standards are applicable to heavy lorries over 16 tonnes with standard axle configurations, which account for approximately 70% of the CO2 emissions produced by all HGVs. The amendments to the regulation entered into force in 26 of June 24. Why are Lamberts trying to add an extra 70 lorries per day to this area, which will increase the CO2 emissions dramatically? The proposed documentation by Lambert is showing that a full environmental survey has been conducted and the results indicated that there were no protected or endangered species of fauna, flora nor animals in the proposed location. This information contrasts with reports created elsewhere. More investigation is required into the environmental impact on the fauna, flora and animals. Increase in HGV traffic. On the highways and access roads 24 hours a day, 365 days per year, leading to a significant increase in airborne pollution from harmful toxic gases. As nearly all HGV traffic is diesel powered, the proposed increase in traffic approaching and leaving the facility will greatly increase airborne pollution, and high levels of acoustic pollution along the motorway corridors. HGV overflow parking. Not shown on the submitted Lambert plans, nor in the provided documentation, there is only a small amount of sufficient room allocated HGV overflow parking in case of emergencies or delays in the offloading/onloading operations due to unforeseen circumstances. On the image on screen you can see there are 3 turning circles which could be allocated for parking or overflow. Open feedstock pits, pens, tanks and lagoons. The plot plan and documentation supplied by Lambert for the proposed design and layout does not show any open pits, open tanks or open lagoons for untreated feedstocks. Will there be any guarantees that, if approved and constructed, open-to-air feedstock storage will never be added in the future? As you can see, there are plenty of pig farms in this location. Most of those have open feedstock slurry basins. There's a couple of images shown on screen. Some can be incredibly large and very smelly. End of operation compliance. Once the plant has run its course and reached its point where it's no longer viable or profitable, will the equipment, structures and concrete be removed from the site and the land returned to its natural state prior to development? Emergency processes and responses. Fire protection and spillage containment. Will this proposed facility have a fire protection ring main around the site? Will this site have an independent fire tender and qualified firefighters to handle any unforeseen fires and or explosions, product leaks or unplanned hazardous gas release? Are there safety showers on site within the access around the site to shower if an unplanned, unexpected release occurs? Is the perimeter of the proposed site bunded to contain any unexpected product release and eliminate any risk of surrounding ground contamination, making clean-up operations easier? The plot plans show storm drain infrastructure installed at the proposed site. Will this infrastructure have contaminated matter collection and cleansing of water for reuse, or will any storm water be collected and reused in daily operations? Compensation to local councils or residents, farmers for plant acceptance. A biodigester plant is an excellent addition to a green cause for producing biogas and fertilisers from existing waste products. The plant proposed for the Matheron area will clean up the air and waste from pig farms and arable farms alike. If local farmers supply their waste for free, do they get in return fertiliser for free or at a discounted price? As for local residents, how will they benefit directly from having a huge industrial complex on their doorstep and having to endure the side effects of this operation? The gas products produced here in Matheron are going to be sent up the line to be sold to other regions of Spain and maybe even sold internationally. This is great for the residents that live in cooler climates around other regions of Spain, but the good residents of Matheron will not benefit anything in return for the plant being built here. Other than a few permanent jobs, a majority won't benefit from gas nor fertiliser. This is a 3D animation to give you scale of a walk round of a finished plant. As you can see, the digester tanks are huge. There are an existing proposed 4 digesters with a proposed expansion of an extra 2 digesters on site. The avatar is now looking at the feedstock arrival processing building. This should be hermetically sealed and the air replenished from scrubbing air conditioning. As you can see, it's quite a large reception building. Okay, we're arriving at the finished dry fertilizer storage pens and yards. As you can see, this corridor is full of solid fertilizer or pelletized fertilizers in their dry form. And this corridor is quite long, containing lots of buildings. So the production of fertilizer is going to be incredibly huge. As we head back towards the tankage area, you'll see the biodigesters, also the slurry tanks for the wet fertilizer. There we are. So these are the secondary digesters or slurry storage. So you can see it's an extensive site, and this is classed as a medium-sized plant. Some biodigester plants can be incredibly large, but it's still too big for Camposol and Matheron. Some 3D model images and elevations, looking south at the north face of the plant, looking east at the west face of the plant, looking north at the south face of the plant, and looking west at the east face of the plant. We've got a couple of images there in perspective view, what we've seen from Camposol Sector A across the fields. If sat on top of the hill, the plant will look like the bottom left image, and in perspective view with Google Maps on it on the second image at the bottom left, and then we have an isometric plan of the plot itself. Some more 3D perspective views, and you can see the plant is extensive. In the yard on the bottom right image, you can see a little man inside the bunded area standing by the tanks. This is how big these tanks are going to be. Thank you for watching.